Trent Harvey, I got that work, now rock out.
Welcome home with Lady Blue Flames. Happy Friday. Another week down in the WNBA. The Professional Women's Hockey League is done. The Soccer League is on international break. So there really isn't, as far as like league games to update on besides the WNBA. So today's episode will be short, but we will update nonetheless. We're going to get right into week 3 complete of the WNBA season. And we're going to start with our standings, where everybody is after 3 weeks. We got New York Liberty at the number 1 spot, 8-0. Minnesota, number 2 spot, 8-0. So both teams still undefeated. We'll go over the next couple schedule and see when they might meet up. We'll see what happens, but 2 teams still perfect. Atlanta in the 3 spot at 5-2. The Aces in the 4 spot at 4-2. Phoenix in the 5th spot at 6-3. Seattle 4-4 at the 6th spot. Indiana in the 7th spot 3-4. Washington in the 8th spot 3-6. Chicago in the 9th spot 2-4. Golden State 10th spot 2-5. The Sparks 11th spot 2-6. Connecticut in the 12th spot 1-6. Dallas in the 13th spot and 1-7. Woo. Most of this I saw, but I definitely didn't see Dallas being in the 13th spot. Let's see, New York and Minnesota, like I said, their teams are pretty much the same coaches, same system. So aside from 1 or 2 pieces, like they're well-oiled machines and they're both rolling. Even though Washington did almost beat New York last night. Almost. We'll get into that when we talk about Washington. Atlanta's been looking good. The Aces have been switching back over to looking decent. They still haven't looked their greatest yet, but they're getting there and they're working on their chemistry with their new pieces. Phoenix is still doing good, even though they have been without Kalia Copper and Alyssa Thomas. They've been without Copper the longest. Thomas have been out the last 2 games, I believe. But they have been rolling. Like, their players have been stepping up. One of the rookies they got was from overseas, undrafted. They signed in training camp. She's been hooping. So Phoenix has been looking good. Seattle has been picking up. They looked shaky at first, but they have been looking a lot better the last couple games. So they're right at 504-4. Indiana, who is still without Caitlin Clark, they have been bouncing back and forth. They've gotten a win, they got a loss, so we'll see how they continue to roll and try to get these wins while Caitlin Clark is out. Washington finally got everybody back except for Amore, who is out for the season with the ACL, but Shakira Austin has been back and Aaliyah Edwards has been back, and they have been looking good, but they have stretches where you can tell that they're a young team. And so these are the things that I kind of expected coming in for the Washington Mystics. Like, I knew there were going to be games that we were going to win. I knew there was going to be games we were going to lose. But they've had a lot of really close games, and a lot of them have come down to the decision-making in a close game at the end of the game. And so 2 of their losses, for sure, that I know when I was watching, like, it was those key moments that had a different decision been made, we might have actually been able to come out with the win. But that's going to come with the learning curve with us using our rookies heavily. Even some of the older players aren't really vets. They're longer than the rookies, but they haven't really been there a long time. So we still have a young team based on that. So there's a learning curve. There's going to be a lot of games, and hopefully having all these really close games this early in the season will help as we get later in the season and then getting into postseason. Because I think these are very good learning experiences, especially for the rookies, because they have been hooping, but key moments when decisions need to be made or certain things need to be done, we've kind of faltered a little bit. But I'm looking forward to see how and if that changes as the season goes on and the players learn from these games. Then we got Chicago's at 2-4. They got a lot of new pieces. They got a new coach, so they're still looking like they're working on like their teamwork and their chemistry, and then like their lineups. Golden State has actually been looking pretty good as the new team. They've been playing really hard. They hustle, and you can tell, at least for them too, sometimes that these close games is decision making, and that fourth quarter has kind of gotten them as well. And then we got the Sparks. I haven't really watched too many of their games, so I can't really say why they're 2-6, but I'm not really surprised either. Connecticut, new coach, all new players. They're still trying to get used to each other. They're scrappy. They work hard, so they will get wins. I don't know if it's going to be enough to put them in the middle or even the top of the league, but they'll get some wins. Dallas, Paige has been out with concussion protocol. She's going to miss her third game coming up, so I don't know how much longer she's going to be out, which I think that's going to slow their development because she's a key piece to them being a more consistent team, and her being out is definitely not going to help them create that consistency in their offense or their defense. So we'll see how that plays out for Dallas. I definitely did see them being 1-7, but that's where they are. So it is what it is. And let's see. So that's where we are after 3 weeks of the season. The Commissioner Cup's games have begun as well. As you know, the Commissioner's Cup is a tournament within the season. The best two teams will play the Commissioner Cup Championship kind of mid-season. They get prize money, they get a trophy, and different things like that. So those games have started for just about every team in the league as well. But that's kind of the breakdown of where most teams are and why they are where they are. So, like I said, it's still been only 3 weeks, so there's still a lot of progress to be made. There's still a lot of time for trades. People have been getting picked up for hardships because a lot of teams have been getting hit with injuries. So there's still a lot of time for some things to change. I do foresee there being a couple trades. I'm not sure who just yet, but I definitely can see there being some trades, especially for the teams that are like 8 and below in the standings. Like I could definitely see them trying to move some pieces to better what they have and what they're trying to do. So we'll see over the course of the next couple weeks if any trades pop up. I know Lee Yuri, who was in Seattle, requested a trade from Seattle. So I don't know how that's going to turn out, whether there's actually going to be a trade or what's going to happen with that. But she has requested a trade out of Seattle. So we'll see. It's been a while since a player requested a trade, so we'll see what happens. But this upcoming week, tonight, we got Atlanta facing Connecticut, the Sparks facing the Dallas Wings. As I said, Paige Beckers is still out tonight, so we'll see how Dallas looks tonight without Paige again. Saturday, we got the Aces at Golden State, Indiana at Chicago, and Seattle at Phoenix. So we got 3 games on Saturday. Let's see. But no, neither one of our undefeated teams plays again until Sunday, which Minnesota plays Dallas on Sunday. So next week we will see if the undefeated teams remain undefeated. They've been hooping. They both had some close games though, so they are not unbeatable. New York and Minnesota are not unbeatable. But the games that you saw that were close, the difference was the other team's decision making in those key moments, whether it's momentum swing or just making the right play or right move, they ended up losing. So we'll see if any teams have learned from those first or second matchups with them and see how they counter when they face again. So we will see. We will see. But that is how the first 3 weeks have been going. Like I said, there's not too many surprises. I think the biggest surprise for me is definitely Dallas. Like, I didn't expect them to only have one win at this point in the season. But, sometimes that's just how sports is, between injuries and chemistry, new coaches, new systems. And then we all know that sometimes a team can look better on paper than it does actually, like, in real life. So that may be the case for some of these rosters. But like I said, we'll see in the next couple weeks if there's any trades or anything that happens. We'll have to look up and see when the trade deadline is, and see how much time there is from now until then. And so I'll make sure I have all of that for next episode. But it's going to be interesting. We'll see if anybody makes any major moves, especially with those teams that are like in the 8th spot or lower. Like, they're going to be needing to make some changes if things are not looking better for them. So we'll see what happens. But that is the WNBA through 3 weeks. And as I said, the NWSL is on break, an international break. So there's a lot of international stuff going on right now. The Women's Hockey League is done. This draft will be soon, so I will have an episode before the draft where we discuss the draft order and who are the top players coming into the league. But that'll be like the week before the draft. And their draft is like the end of this month. So got a few weeks to get the research and all that done for that. But so I think the WNBA currently is the only league that has like actual games going on right now. It's the second international break for soccer. So it might be a couple more. I'll have to look into it. It's probably one of the reasons why this season is so long is because of all these international games and players having to leave to go play on either Team USA or their national team, because they have a lot of international players just like the WNBA does. So we'll have to look at their schedule and kind of see when they'll be back in full swing. All right. All right, bro. For the month of June, we got a new book. This will be our 3rd or 4th book, but I'm excited about this one. I pre-ordered this one and I was waiting for it to get delivered and waiting to get it read. But we got Uncommon Favor by Dawn Staley, one of the greatest people in the history of women's basketball, from college to Team USA to WNBA, as a player and as a coach. Like, she's been on so many sides of the game, and she's contributed so much to players, to fans, to where she grew up, where she's played, where she's coached. She's always trying to give back, and just her knowledge, her dedication, and the way she works and the way she represents is always great to see. And of course, she is also a UVA alumni, just like me. Fortunately, by the time I got there, she was already gone, but it was definitely an honor knowing like that's where she played and that's where she was. So it was very exciting when I got there, knowing like that's where Dawn Staley played and had her collegiate career, which was a great one. Even though it ended in heartbreak, like she had a great career at UVA. So it was definitely exciting to know that and to be there and see all the stuff, the awards, the jerseys, and be in the old arena before they destroyed it, where she actually played. U-Hall is what it was called, and then they built the new John Paul Jones arena. But U-Hall was the arena, man. Even though John Paul Jones is very nice, U-Hall had his memories. It was old, but it had his memories. I'm telling you. But definitely always been one of my favorite people to follow and learn their story and read their story and hear them talk about things and how they analyze and see things and how they approach things. And reading this book, I got a little bit more insight into her as a coach. Socials are gonna post what they post, say what they say, and I personally like reading like firsthand from the person. Like I like to hear from them how they saw something, why they responded the way they did, why they did what they did or didn't do something. I like the firsthand from them, not necessarily from people saying what they think happened or why this didn't happen or why that didn't happen. I personally always like either to read or to hear firsthand from that person. Whether it's a player, it's a coach, it's always better to hear it firsthand, in my opinion. So I was very, very excited when they announced the pre-orders. I pre-ordered immediately, and it finally came, and I had to like slow pace myself because I can't just like, if I'm excited, I will read through everything too fast. But I had to slow myself down so that I could like read and like soak it all in and really pay attention to each chapter and everything that she was talking about. So I definitely probably could have read this in one day, but I intentionally slowed myself down so that I can really grasp what I was reading and get the full effect and the full intent. Definitely recommend you add it to your library. There's like some great tidbits in here, some great stories. It was definitely a fun read, and I posted on Twitter today because in one of the chapters she talks about having to turn down the new athletic director at the University of Virginia, having to turn down the job to coach at UVA, and I had to close the book and pause. So I was like, we almost had her, y'all. But like me, in reading the book, she also believes in like being where she's supposed to be and being led to places where she's supposed to be as a person, as a coach, and being ordained to be in certain places. And I understand that, but I also was like, whew, we almost had her, y'all. That would have been so nice. We almost did. But that does not take away from, how awesome she is. Despite the fact that I do wish that she would have came and coached at UVA, because I would have been there every season. You already know. Alright, so my first piece from the book is in the chapter called Hope is a Ladder. And a lot in this chapter, she's talking about being of service. And personally, I've always believed in, if you are in a position to help others, that you should. And I mean, like, if you are in a position, whether it's with your time, whether it's with your money, whether it's with your knowledge, with your experience, any form of life, if you are in a position to be able to be of service or help to somebody else, I believe you should. So, in one of her sections, she says, the point here is service needn't be a grand show or a huge statement. Service can be a look, a smile, a gesture of empathy, a show of respect, a hug, a 2-week break, or a new pair of sneakers. And she also talks about how she loves shoes, which I can relate because I love shoes. And before copping all the A1s, it had been a while since I had like bought myself a pair of shoes that I really wanted. And so this whole like service doesn't have to be like this grand gesture, and it doesn't have to be put on display. There's many ways to be of service to others where you don't have to, broadcast it or post it here or have a video of it, but something that you did, and the person that was on the receiving end, they know you did it. And that should be enough, because it's supposed to be genuine service to somebody else. And so sometimes, yes, it's nice to, post and share a moment, but sometimes that's not necessary. Sometimes you just need to do the service. Like she said, whether it's just giving your time to somebody, for me, the options of like training, giving some financial help if somebody I know needs a little bit of assistance, sharing your knowledge of a specific area that maybe somebody else doesn't have. And so service can be done in a lot of ways. And I love that chapter because she talks about a lot of different things that she's been involved in, and some things are like public out there and some things not so much. But being of service is something we can all do, because service covers so many areas of life, not just one thing. It's not just a monetary thing, it's not just a time thing. It can be something very, very small, as simple as you're out and about and you actually smile and just like say hello to somebody. Not even have a full conversation, but just acknowledge that they're there and be like, hello. Or just smile and be like, I hope you have a great day. Small things like that, we have no idea how much impact that has on a person who's receiving it, because maybe it's been a couple days since somebody said something nice to them. Who knows? And so I've always believed in providing service whenever I have the ability to, no matter what area of life it is in. Like, if I can help someone, I try to. And I just think that was one of the big things in that chapter, and I think it was a really good chapter. But again, the book for June is Uncommon Favor, Dawn Staley. Definitely try to find it. I know it's sold out in a lot of places, which is why I made sure I pre-ordered it, because I would have been upset if I would have tried to get it and it would have been sold out. So, but that is definitely the book for June. Dawn Staley, Uncommon Favor. The challenge I give you guys is to, over the course of the week, be of service somehow to somebody else. Not just yourself, but somehow be of service to somebody else. It could be something small, and you don't even need to tell nobody. Just do it. So definitely that's my challenge to you guys. Be of service to somebody else at some point this week. But that is the book of the month. Hope you guys cop it. It's very good. Each week this month we will cover a different aspect of the book. So today, but yeah, the Washington Mystics have had the most close games of any team this season in the first 3 weeks. Like, we've had the most close games in the fourth quarter where we had the potential to win. And some of them we did and some of them we didn't. So, to me, like, the Mystics is still kind of where I thought they would be. It's just the only difference is that, like, our rookies are actually playing really well. Alright, so we're going to go the top players in all categories. So the top 5 in points per game, we got Defisa Collier at number 1 with 25.1 after 3 weeks of the season. Kelsey Plum at 2, 22.9 points. Asia Wilson at 3, 22.8. Alicia Gray at 4 with 21.4. And Satu Sabali in the 5th spot with 20.3. So after 3 weeks, that's our top 5 people in points. In rebounds, you got Angel Reese at the 1, 12.3 rebounds. Asia Wilson at 2 with 10.5. John Porter Jones at 3 with 10.3. Kiki at 4 with 9.9. And Azurá Stevens at 5 with 9.3. Now assists, at number 1 we got Paige Beckers, 6.7 assists per game. Natasha Cloud, 6.6 at 2. Skylar Diggins at 3 with 6.4. Courtney Williams at 4 with 6.3. And Courtney Vandersloot at 5 with 6.2. Blocks, at 1 you got Asia Wilson with 2.7. At 2, Alana Smith with 2.1. 3, Aaliyah Boston with 1.7. 4, Ezzy McLegore, 1.6. And Catherine Westfield at 5 with 1.4. Steals, you got at 1, Asia Wilson, 2.3. Oh, dang, you got 3 tied at 1. Asia Wilson, Kayla Thornton, and Kelsey Plum all sitting at 2.3 steals per game. At number 4, you got Nafisa Colley at 2.1. And at 5, you got De'Arity Hamby at 2. Dang, 3 people averaging the same steals. That's crazy. But, so after 3 weeks, that's the top 5 in those categories. Most of those, definitely not a surprise. Points, I definitely didn't expect Alicia Gray and Satu to be like, they both have been hooping. So, they up there. The rebounds, not surprised, with Angel Reese at the top, Wilson right behind her. Assists, not surprised, Paige and Natasha Cloud at the top. Blocks, Asia Wilson at the top, not surprised. And the 3 people being tied in steals is definitely a surprise. Steals usually has like some of the biggest gaps between players. But that's the stats leaders. And as I said, 3 weeks in, there still isn't much separation in the standings. Besides New York and Minnesota taking that top, both still undefeated. Everybody else in the middle between like 3 and 8 are all really close. And then 9 through 13 is kind of in their own bracket a little bit as well. Got a few teams missing key players, but a lot of those teams are still hooping even with those key players out right now. So 3 weeks in, we're looking pretty good. Still probably be another couple weeks before there's any true separation in the standings, as teams kind of get more used to each other, more used to their new teammates, more used to their system, and more used to their new coaches as well. So still probably got another like 2 or 3 weeks before there's like true separation in the standings. So we'll see where that separation comes from, who moves up or down. So each week we'll keep an eye on how teams are trending and see what's going on. But that is week 3 update for the WNBA. Things are looking good. Hopefully in the next week or 2 we'll have some of those injured players back. And we'll see how teams are unfolding at that point as well. And this month's book, again, was Uncommon Favor, Dawn Staley. And remember, my challenge to you, over the course of the week, be of service to someone other than yourself. It could be something small, it could be something big, it could be in any facet of life, but be of service to someone else at some point over the course of the week. And that is going to be today's episode. So again, the goal of Welcome Home and myself, Lady Blue Flames, is to educate, appreciate, support, and promote women's sports. The goal is to educate, appreciate, promote, and support women's sports. Welcome home.